Oh, it didn't.
Oh, this is awkward.
Was it awkward? I thought it was great.
Hello.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for
Welcome
joining
to
us.
the fireside chat.
This is not a fireside chat. No, this is the real shit.
A fireside chat can't be real?
No, it's like a mumbling FDR thing.
I get that that's where that came from, but we can have a fireside chat that's radical or a, you know.
All right, so we're
I'm
going to
just saying,
cover.
It's feeling like a little, there's like a little bit of mood lighting going on. It's the dead of winter.
So we're going to cover the Peru fighting back against the U.S., we'll say, supported coup, U.S. advised coup that has gone on in Peru. We're going to cover the largest oil spill in the United States since over the past decade. We're going to cover a hilarious new, the protest movement is not hilarious, but a protest movement against a hilarious new anti-immigrant project in Arizona. Some amazing shit coming your way. So let's get into it. So the reason and for those of you who saw my interview with Ben Norton, I have already covered to some degree the coup that just happened in Peru, but I'm going to give a little refresher, and then we're going to cover the update, which is a lot about people in the streets. So things are changing. Oh, and this is Eleanor Goldfield, by the way. Sorry for the delay.
That's quite all right. Hello. I have nothing to add to that. I am indeed she. At the very least, I'm wearing her underwear.
Which we're all happy about. Okay, so to give you the quick rundown of the coup in Peru, President Castillo is a leftist. However, he has alienated a lot of leftists by doing some things that were more towards liberal. So he has lost some of his fans. But wait, I just saw a comment. Someone said I should reload the page. Does that mean it's blurry or something? Please let me know.
That comment was a bit ago, so maybe.
Okay, please let me know if the image is blurry, because I can hit reload. It just takes a minute. But all right, so, but despite the fact that he has alienated some people on the left, he is still a leftist that the right wing, and including the U.S., very much wanted to get out of office.
And he was still elected.
So that's true too. The other thing is that basically what he did is they created a lawfare. That's the new term being thrown around a lot, lawfare instead of warfare. They created a lawfare coup against him, where they basically announced they were going to impeach him, and he knew this was coming because Congress, which has an approval rating, Peruvian Congress, which has an approval rating of somewhere between 7 and 11%, which I think is about the same as the U.S. Congress.
I thought I was just like 4%.
Yeah, maybe this. It's just a 1 percentage point lower than herpes, just below the approval rating of herpes. So he basically disbanded or announced he was disbanding Congress, which you're legally allowed to do in their constitution, because he knew Congress was about to impeach him for bullshit. When he did that, Congress then heavily voted to take him out of office. So basically, he was trying to beat them at their own game. They then took him out of office and arrested him. But now here's the update. Is these massive protests going on throughout? Actually, I want to show a different. This is Ben Norton's article, by the way. He does great stuff. But I wanted to show a different Twitter thread about this. Let's see. Sorry for the delay, folks.
A lot of moving parts here.
A lot of moving parts. But this one actually has images of the protesters. So protesters have really taken to the street in a big way to defend Castillo and to to bring him back. And, this has worked before. Like Chavez was taken out by a coup in 2002, and the people stood up and the coup was defeated.
Well, and I also think it's important to point out, I haven't traveled extensively in South America or Central America, but from what I hear from folks who have, like Ben Norton and others, there is a much more acute awareness of US imperialism throughout the entire region. I mean, it's understandable because the US has been fucking with them for, since the Monroe Doctrine and before. So it's not at all surprising, but there is an understanding among the people what US imperialism is, how it works in these kind of backdoor coups, what did you say, lawfare type situations where they don't fully invade, but they destabilize your nation, they destabilize your democratically elected government. In a lot of cases, like in Argentina and Chile, there is like an actual violent coup and a takeover. So I feel like that's also part of it, is that people in Peru have this understanding that, oh, this is not something that was that happened with our okay. This was not something that the people demanded. This is something that U.S. imperialism demanded, and so that leads, I feel, to far more to far more anger, because it's not something that's just like this internal struggle. This is other nations fucking with your sovereignty. So.
Right. That's a great point. There's far more understanding. There's more education in these countries about this. But you're right. Whereas in the U.S., we're trying to stop the U.S. empire, meaning we're trying to stop our own government from destroying other countries. In other countries, many people understand this is outside influence, which is an easier thing to rally people. I mean, look at these numbers. An easier thing to rally people for and get people angry about is outside influence. But anyway, I just wanted to give everybody this update about what's going on in Peru right now. And this is one of many efforts by the U.S. And again, this is not 100% the U.S. Obviously, this took a very large percentage of their Congress in Peru, a right-wing Congress. And they had to agree with, even if the U.S. was the one who put forward the plan and slid it across the table and said, here's how you do it, they still had to agree with it. So I don't want to act like it's only the U.S., but U.S. supported coup. And this is one of many that the U.S. is trying and has been trying to take out, to stop, in order to stop many things, but nationalizing of resources, like in Bolivia with the lithium, but also to stop them creating their own form of currency, which is something I covered on a recent live stream just the other day. So the U.S. very much wants to get Castillo out of power. They wanted to stop the vice president of Argentina, Kirchner, from being able to run for president, which they did as well last week. So the U.S. had essentially two coup victories
in 1 week.
In 1 week, last week. And your mainstream media is essentially not covering it, except for one article saying corrupt Castillo gets dragged out of Congress.
Dictator. The regime of,
Yeah, it's only a regime. It's only a regime if we disagree with them. Folks, keep an eye on that one. If you want to, if you like propaganda wording, keep in mind, take note of every time the New York Times, Washington Post, or any mainstream media, CNN, Fox News, call something a regime. All right. A regime is anytime we disagree with a country.
Yeah, like no one ever says the Macron regime or the Merkel regime, but it's the Maduro regime and it's the Castillo regime. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Also, of course, there's a distinct gradient there as well, right? White countries are typically never a regime. It's usually only black and brown countries that are a regime.
So here's her full name that I couldn't remember is Cristina Fernandez de Kirchner, which is the vice president in Argentina that is a leftist that they knew was going to run for president soon and would likely win. And the U.S. succeeded in bringing charges against her, along with, again, right-wingers in Argentina, so that she can never run for president. So, all right, let's move on to the largest oil spill in the U.S. in at least 10 years. And this is in a pipeline that has been much talked about. Although I believe we were told there would be no leaks. Weren't we told there would be no leaks?
Oh, we are doing this story. I thought you said we already covered it.
No.
Yes, you did.
I said I told you about it. Sorry.
That's not what you said.
That is what I said.
No.
I said I told you about it. All right. Anyway, we're ready. We're a regular Gracie and Allen. No, Burns and Allen. Well, Burns and Allen is George Burns and Gracie Allen, the back and forth comedy duo. I always want to call them Gracie and Allen, but it's Burns and Allen.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind.
I'm really entertaining you right now. I'll tell you that much. Boy, I am bombing on this side of the screen. Hope I'm doing better out there. All right, so investigators and quote-unquote cleanup crews, let's discuss that more in a moment, begin scouring oil pipeline spill in Kansas. Emergency crews on Friday were preparing to labor through the weekend. That's all it takes. It's just through the weekend to clean up the largest U.S. crude oil spill in nearly a decade, with workers descending on this farming community from as far away as Mississippi. A heavy odor of oil hung in the air, according to Reuters witness. Tractor trailers, ferry generators, blah, blah, blah. Federal investigators were at the scene trying to help determine what caused a leak, what could have caused it, of some 14,000 barrels of oil from Western Canada. Pipeline operator TC Energy on Friday said it was evaluating plans to restart the line, which carries 622,000 barrels of oil per day to U.S. refineries. It did not provide details of the breach. And by the way, this article continues on and on to talk about when it's going to get restarted, how much how much it's going to harm oil output. That seems to be the main, even in the liberal outlets, not to mention the Fox Newses and the Wall Street Journal, but in the liberal outlets, that seems to be the main point, is that this could hurt output.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's I mean, and this is what pipelines do. Of course, this is what they leak, and this is what they do. They leak. And somebody mentioned like pipelines leak, especially ones named Keystone, because the Keystone pipeline has already leaked several times. Previous Keystone spills. One, for example, 383,000 gallons of crude into rural wetlands in North Dakota, and more than 200,000 gallons into a pasture in South Dakota. Like, I don't even know. Fucking 383,000 gallons of crude. I can't even fucking. And I can't.
Look at the image. It's like everything's black.
And these are not, so crude oil is incredibly toxic, because it's not just like it's not just this raw oil. It's chemicals like benzene that seep into the groundwater, that seep obviously into the whatever is growing there, that seep into the air. And so this is incredibly toxic. And the idea that you could just send some people over to, I don't know, with the fucking Swiffer to clean this shit up is absolutely ridiculous. It's absolutely insane. And it's so incorrect. There is no way to clean this up properly. Once it's spilled, it is decimating that ecosystem. And so this is...
Wait, this has one of my favorite sentences. There's no human consumption drinking water that would come out of this.
Yeah, exactly.
Can you... No. They're saying none of it that's getting polluted is human consumption drinking water, which is bullshit.
Oh, I thought he meant like no one can ever drink water from this area.
Yeah, no.
Like, yeah.
No. This is a representative of like TC Energy or whatever they're called. And they're basically saying, don't worry, no one drinks out of this. And it's like, dude,
That's not how water tables work.
This gets in everything. Yeah, I know. It's like that got in a creek that goes to other rivers and shit. Like,
well, and even if that were true, okay, so you're saying that this area, that like this image that we're looking at, is an area that humans have no interaction with.
Right.
Whether that be...
And the animals?
Well, yeah, of course. Whether that be the animals that we interact with, whether that be the food, whether that be the air. Like, it's so fucking laughable. I mean, it would be laughable if it wasn't so fucking depressing, that people look at these catastrophes and say, oh, it's no big deal because look, that's not a reservoir. That's not, it's just, it's horrifying. And so this is what people were fighting against. And it's not surprising, but it's devastating that this has happened, and it will continue to happen because, again, this is what fucking pipelines do.
And I like they always talk about the cleanup crews, and they're gonna be working through the night, and oh my goodness, they are on it. And I always like to point out that you essentially can't clean up oil, not when it's in water. You can maybe get a little bit up. I'm not saying you can't shovel something into a van and say, look, I got a fucking jar full of oil, but you're not gonna have clean water. So whenever you see these guys out there in their fucking hazmat suits and their little paper towels, literally paper towels, it's all a show. It's cleanup theater.
And I've seen people with brooms, paper towel,
literal paper towels. I know I've talked about this before, but it's so hilarious. It's cleanup theater for fucking idiot liberals out there. The right wingers don't give a shit, right? Right wingers are like, destroy the planet. All right, I love it, America. But liberals like to pretend they care about the planet, and so while they're pretending they care about the planet, they're fucking acting like there's any cleanup going on. Yeah, you squeegeed one duck. All right, this. Like acting, meanwhile, literally, there's been evidence that BP was taking dead dolphins off the beaches and like hiding them, burning them, and burying them and stuff, so that people wouldn't see all the dead dolphins at the Gulf of Mexico. Like, it's cleanup theater, just like we have security theater. It's to make people think everything's okay.
And I mean, I can't remember what year this was. It was 69 or 68. 1968, I believe. There was an oil spill in Santa Barbara, just off the coast, and I went there in 2004, and there were still remnants of it, like on the beach. If you went on the beach, you'd sometimes still get like oil on your heels, because you can never clean that shit up. It's there forever. And of course, if you're walking around that beach today, it looks fucking gorgeous. But that's the other thing. It's like they might aesthetically clean this up.
Surface level.
But the damage is already done. Yeah. It's already done. And so, and these ecosystems, being as fragile as ecosystems are, there's no way that this won't recover from this. Not like in any time span that's important for our lives.
So this just highlights that we have to move away from fossil fuels. Obviously, the climate crisis is another reason we've got to fucking stop fossil fuels. But this is also a reason that we should view people that are blocking pipelines, chaining themselves to pipelines, all that shit. We should view them as heroes. And instead, they're getting arrested. They're getting charged with years in prison some of the time. Like, it is disgusting what's done to the people who try and stop this shit from going on. But and it's because our politicians are funded by these egregious, awful corporations, and so they're never going to regulate this or give that much of a shit about it. I mean, it's not like anyone goes to prison when this stuff happens. By the way, there's thousands of oil leaks around the U.S. every year. It's just most of them either don't get any media coverage and were not as large as this one is. So,
well, and also there's a threshold. I can't remember exactly what it is. There's a threshold for even reporting.
Oh, right.
Because these pipeline companies are expected to self-report, right? Because they're honest and they're good corporations that care about people and planet. So of course they'd self-report. So the issue is that like this, they can't fucking hide, right? It's too fucking big. But there are thousands of spills that never get reported because the pipelines are expected to self-report. And if it's a spill in a desolate area where nobody lives or nobody's driving by, they're not going to fucking say anything. They'll be like, well, who gives a shit? So these spills are constantly happening, and they're not even getting reported to any kind of authorities because, again, pipeline companies are expected to self-report.
All right. On that note, on moving away from fossil fuels. Oh, and by the way, I mentioned the funding of these fucking our clown politicians. I just did a video on Hakeem Jeffries, the man.
Sorry. For those listening,
Yeah.
Lou is just posted Russian spies sabotage the pipeline. Maybe Chinese, perhaps Iranians, definitely North Koreans.
I think it actually was North Korean babies, which is why our sanctions killing those babies are doing a good service,
because they're tiny. They can
get in the pipeline and stab it with a little knife.
Mm.
Yep.
Sorry, you were saying.
I was saying that Hakeem Jeffries, the guy replacing Nancy Pelosi, he's already been elected, so he replaces Nancy Pelosi. He is one of his top funders is JP Morgan Chase, the largest funder of fossil fuels on the planet. Now, of course, JP Morgan Chase also funds pretty much all the other main politicians in Congress and the White House and everywhere else. Republican, Democrat, doesn't matter. So they're all funded by the bank that is the largest funder of fossil fuels. And actually, Jamie Dimon, head of JP Morgan Chase, when he was asked by Elizabeth Warren whether they're moving past, whether they were going to stop funding fossil fuels, he said his response was absolutely not, and that would be the road to hell.
For America.
For America. Okay, so on this note, real quick story before we head over to rumble.com/Lee Camp. There is a big... So we've got to move past fossil fuels, right? Many of you know about clean energy. We're getting there. But a giant source of clean energy that would be limitless and would be far greater in terms of the amount of energy created would be nuclear fusion. Now, nuclear fission is the one that can have explosions that then destroy entire eastern seaboards, which is what almost happened with 3 Mile Island. So nuclear fission in Fukushima and Chernobyl. Yeah. So nuclear fission is the one that understandably we need to fucking stop. Nuclear fusion doesn't have that risk. It can't result in some radiation spill that goes...
Can I just say, great Val Kilmer movie about this called The Saint.
Is there?
Yeah, and I can't remember the actress's name, but I'm sorry. I had a Val Kilmer thing when I was growing up.
Oh, I don't begrudge you a Val Kilmer thing.
And that's how I learned about nuclear fusion.
But isn't it? Eleanor doesn't know a lot of popular culture, so this is a big moment.
Thank you. Thank you. Also, it's really fucking dumb if you watch it today, as opposed to like when you were younger and didn't give a shit about like the political propagandization. But like the Russians are the bad guys. So anyway.
This was I think it came out in the early 90s, didn't it?
So this is
so the script was written while the Soviet Union was still there, and they were like, let's just leave the Russians as the bad guys. The Soviet Union falls, just keep it.
It has the guy who plays Boris the Blade, or Boris the Bullet Dodger. Great actor though.
From what, Snatch?
Snatch,
yeah.
Why do they call him a bullet dodger?
Oh my God. This is tangents on tangents on tangents. But that being said, I'm going to take us on another tangent off of that tangent. Is as long as we're on popular culture, I just want to tell everybody, my brother's movie, as of today, is up for Golden Globe for Best Animated Film. Now, yes, you guys, I see you rolling your eyes. I agree. Hollywood award shows fucking stupid. It's all them just patting themselves on the back.
It's his baby brother.
But I don't know a baby, but my brother
he was a baby when
has made an excellent, very incredible animated film called Marcel the Shell with Shoes, and I highly recommend it. Everybody check it out and enjoy it. And if you have kids, it's amazing for them. And adults enjoy it too. Anyway, that's my pitch for my brother's movie that is now up for a Golden Globe. And dude, he's up against the fucking biggest animated films in the world, like fucking Disney shit and Del Toro's Pinocchio and all this stuff. So.
Benicio? No. Guillermo. Speaking of yummy, Benicio del Toro. Anyway, we were on nuclear.
Speaking of yummy.
We were on nuclear fusion, goddammit. Stop going on tangents. It's so distracting.
All right. Everybody go see Marcel the Shell with Shoes. It also won New York Film Critics Award, New York something Critics Award for Best Animated Film, beating Del Toro's Pinocchio.
Yeah,
so,
fuck Pinocchio.
Yeah, fuck you, Del Toro. Oh, actually, his big competition was the Minions movie. So he wanted to pick a fight on Twitter with the Minions, but his like agent or something wouldn't let him.
See, agents always get in the way of fun.
All right. So this is actually tomorrow. Apparently, the U.S. is going to announce a big fusion energy breakthrough. Now, as with most things in the U.S., this is a mix of really I mean, this, because it's science, is great shit in a way, but it also is a mix of propaganda. You know, we couldn't just tell something truthfully, right? Got to throw in some propaganda.
Well, it is the Washington Post.
But anyway, scientists hit a key milestone in the quest to create abundant zero carbon power through nuclear fusion. And there's billions of dollars put into it to start, but once it gets running, once you actually have it, it's basically almost free energy, like in many ways, comparatively. But they still have a long way to go. So this is the first time they've ever had a fusion energy reaction that created more energy than it took to cause to cause the fusion explosion, or it's not explosion, it's not the word, whatever, fusion collision fusion reaction. So this was a big step in the right direction. Now, here are the things that they're not saying in the Washington Post. One is the US has now amped up our quest to do this outside of associations with Russia and China, because we had been working closely with Russia and China to create fusion in, I think, where they were working was in Europe. But now we've decided to create fucking proxy wars with Russia and China, so we're no longer working with them. And so the US is now in a race to basically beat China for fusion energy.
Which is so dumb, because things were obviously going faster and better.
Right.
When you collaborate, it's almost like that shit that you learned in kindergarten holds true, but you forget it because now you're a sociopathic fucking congressman.
And it says, it comes as the Biden administration is prioritizing fusion energy research in its climate and energy agenda. Now, here's the thing. I don't think Biden actually, or his administration, as I always give the caveat, Biden's in a room facing a wall somewhere, counting the wallpaper flowers or something. So his administration doesn't give a shit, honestly, about the climate in truth. And they haven't hardly done anything about the climate. But the reason they care about fusion is because if China were to crack this long before the US, China would have unlimited energy. Energy is power in many ways. I didn't even mean the pun. And so they would just, it would be a huge fucking win for, like, economically and everything else if China had fusion energy and the US didn't. So that's one reason. The other is that the US dollar is powered by the petrodollar, and also the world reserve currency, but many of the reasons the reserve currency is because of the petrodollar based on petroleum. If fusion suddenly is a thing, then the US dollar has no power anymore.
Yeah.
So we have to create fusion and then put it behind a wall and say it's only ours and we will dish it out as we see fit. So we'd have the fusion dollar, like EpiPens. And anyway, so I think the real reason we're doing this and we've amped up our quest for this is actually to continue to have hegemony. Over the past several decades, the US, Russia, and various European nations have allocated billions in government dollars trying to master the science, believing that if they could, it would be a boon for the world. Yeah, the US doesn't give a shit about the world. They just want to have the power. And one last note is this article from Washington Post mentions the amount of money, a ton. I don't know if they give the exact number, but they just say billions of dollars, billions of dollars, billion dollars. It is nothing compared to what we spend on our military. Nothing. A fucking drop. No. So it's like, if you want to power the world, fucking give the military, but give the $1 trillion a year to fucking quest for fusion. Okay.
Also, I'd just like to say, in the movie The Saint, the scientist who comes up with nuclear fusion makes a point that it's for everybody. And Val Kilmer was trying to steal her notes on fusion, and she makes the point, I would have just given them to you because fusion is for everyone. And so
wait, Kilmer's the bad guy?
Yes, well, he's been hired to go steal the plans for nuclear fusion. But there's like this whole twist, and I'm not going to tell you because it's a spoiler alert, but you know, just saying.
Because so for anyone who's about to see, what's it called, The Saint?
The Saint.
If anyone who's about to watch The Saint, don't worry, we won't give it away here.
It's a good movie.
Okay, so let's head over. We're heading over to rumble.com/.
I know that it does frame the Russians as psychopathic, but I know if you can move past that, it's a great film. I'm sorry.
This is the most Eleanor's talked about popular culture in, I think, a decade, since the last largest oil spill.
Are you proud of me? Thank you.
So we're heading over to rumble.com/leakcamp. It's completely free. You keep watching there. It's join us over there, and we have more stories to come, including this amazing anti-immigration effort that is, it's one of the funniest stories we've covered in a while.
It is.
All right, so we got that. Oh, we also have an update on the Flint water charges that have fucking been thrown out.
Yeah, remember how Flint still doesn't have fucking clean water? Yeah,
unbelievable.
That's still a thing.
So we got that story. We got those. We have more than that. Just join us. Rumble.com/leakcamp. Don't even think about it. Just fucking go over there. If you hate it, you can leave. It's free. So I can just do it. Fucking do it. Jesus. God damn it.
He's working.
Wrong with you people. Also become a member at leakcamp.net because that's the only way we fund these things.
Also, speaking of like bad guys in movies, you can do this while we're switching.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
Remember Die Hard, where oh god, what is that guy's fucking name?
I just talked about this on a live stream the other day.
You did? What the fuck is that guy's name?